There are certain moments in life where you can feel the axis of your world shifting, where you know, with absolute certainty, that nothing will ever be the same after this. For me, that moment came in a boardroom on the top floor of Moretti Holdings, with 15 men staring and Dante Moretti's voice cutting through the air like a blade. Everyone else leave. You stay. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The morning started like any other morning in the 8 months I'd worked for Moretti Holdings. I arrived at 7:30, coffee in hand, wearing my standard uniform of black pencil skirt and white blouse. Conservative, professional, forgettable. That was the goal. Be good at your job, keep your head down, don't attract attention from men who could make you disappear with a phone call. I was a forensic accountant. My job was to take money that came from guns, drugs, and extortion and make it look like legitimate shipping revenue. I restructured offshore accounts, created shell companies, and built corporate labyrinths that even the authorities couldn't navigate. I was very good at my job. Good enough that Dante Moretti had personally approved my hire 8 months ago, overruling 3 senior associates who thought I was too young, too female, too likely to be a liability. She stays, he'd said then. Just 2 words. Absolute authority. I should have recognized the pattern. The monthly financial review was scheduled for 9 a.m. I'd been preparing for a week, making sure every number was perfect, every account reconciled, every question anticipated. These meetings were not optional. Every senior associate attended. And Dante Moretti sat at the head of that massive mahogany table and watched us all with eyes that missed nothing. I'd learned in 8 months that Dante Moretti was not like other CEOs. He didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't need to. He simply existed in a space, and that space bent to his will. Men twice his age deferred to him without question. Billion-dollar deals closed because he wanted them to. Problems disappeared because he found them inconvenient. And lately, in the past few weeks, he'd been watching me. Not obviously. Dante was never obvious. But I felt his attention like heat on my skin. Caught him looking when I presented reports. Noticed how he always seemed to know where I was in the building, what I was working on, who I was talking to. It should have scared me. It did scare me. But it also made my pulse race in ways that had nothing to do with fear. This is insane, I told myself every time I caught myself thinking about him. He's your boss. He's dangerous. He's literally a Mafia don who happens to have an MBA and excellent taste in suits. But my body didn't care about any of that. My phone buzzed as I walked into the boardroom. I glanced at it quickly. Another message from Agent Chen, the federal agent handling my sister's witness protection case. We need to talk. Today. It's urgent. My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever followed "it's urgent" when it came to Valentina's situation. My little sister, 16 years old, brilliant, innocent, had witnessed a murder 3 months ago. Wrong place, wrong time, coming home from her violin lesson. She'd seen a man executed in an alley 2 blocks from our apartment. Had seen the killer's face clearly enough to identify him. The police wanted her to testify. The prosecutor said her testimony was crucial. Agent Chen said they'd keep her safe in witness protection until the trial. But I knew better. I'd spent 8 months working for men who made people disappear. I knew what happened to witnesses. I knew that federal protection was a nice idea that fell apart the moment someone with enough money and motivation wanted you dead. I needed 150,000 euros in 2 weeks to get Valentina out of the country entirely. Somewhere the murderer's family couldn't reach her. Somewhere she could start over with a new identity and actually be safe. I had 43,000 saved, which meant I was 107,000 short and running out of time. My phone buzzed again. I silenced it and took my seat at the conference table. The boardroom at Moretti Holdings was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Milan, marble floors, art that belonged in museums, a table that could seat 20 and cost more than most people made in a year. Everything about it screamed power, money, and the kind of elegance that hid brutal efficiency. Dante sat at the head of the table, perfectly still in a custom Brioni suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His dark hair was styled precisely, his jaw sharp enough to cut, a scar along his jawline that he'd never explained and no one dared ask about. The Patek Philippe on his wrist caught the light as he gestured for someone to close the door. 15 men filed in. Senior associates, all of them older than me. All of them wearing expensive suits and expressions of carefully controlled ambition. I was the only woman. I was always the only woman. Ms. Ricci. Dante's voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that made you lean in to hear it. You're presenting the quarterly offshore restructuring. Begin. I stood, smoothing my skirt, and moved to the presentation screen. My hands were steady as I pulled up the first slide. 8 months of practice had taught me to hide nerves behind professional competence. Good morning. The Q3 offshore restructuring has been completed according to specifications. We've consolidated the Caribbean holdings into 3 primary entities, which now feed into. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I felt it vibrate against my hip and forced myself to ignore it. The Luxembourg subsidiary has been recapitalized with clean revenue streams from legitimate shipping contracts, creating a buffer that will withstand standard audits. Another buzz. I stumbled slightly over my words, caught myself, continued. Dante leaned back in his chair, and I felt his attention sharpen. He was watching me now. Really watching. Not the presentation. Me. The Singapore accounts have been restructured to comply with new banking regulations while maintaining. My phone buzzed a third time. Longer. Someone calling. Ms. Ricci. Dante's voice cut through my presentation like a knife. You seem distracted. Every head in the room turned toward me. 15 pairs of eyes, judging, assessing. My apologies, Mr. Moretti. I kept my voice steady, professional. As I was saying, the Singapore accounts. Are you expecting an important call? He tilted his head slightly, still watching me with that unnerving intensity. No, sir. Just spam calls. I'll silence it. His eyes narrowed fractionally. He knew I was lying. Of course he knew. I turned back to the presentation, my heart pounding. Made it through 2 more slides before my phone buzzed a 4th time. Then a 5th. The energy in the room shifted. I could feel the senior associates exchanging glances. Could feel Dante's attention on me like a physical weight. I finished the presentation somehow, my voice steady even as my pulse raced. Answer questions about compliance structures and audit trails. Pretended everything was fine while my phone kept buzzing and Dante kept watching. Finally, mercifully, the questions ended. I moved to sit down. Dante stood. I didn't ask what he'd said. I didn't want to know. Everything was perfect. Until the day Marco appeared at the penthouse, his face grim. We have a problem, he said to Dante. They disappeared into Dante's office. I heard raised voices. Saw Dante's expression when he emerged, cold, furious, deadly. What's wrong? I asked. The murder your sister witnessed. His jaw was tight. The one that started all this. What about it? It was ordered by someone in my organization. He looked at me, and I saw rage in his eyes. One of my captains, Carlo Messina. He's been skimming for months. The man your sister saw killed was about to expose him. My blood ran cold. One of your own people? Yes. His hands clenched into fists. And he's been lying to me for months. Letting me think it was the Carbone family. Letting me protect your sister from the wrong threat. What are you going to do? He looked at me for a long moment. What needs to be done? The next day, Dante called a meeting. Every senior associate, every captain, every person of importance in his organization. The boardroom was packed. I stood in the back, watching. Dante stood at the head of the table, and his presence was absolute. Commanding. Carlo Messina, he said quietly. A man near the middle of the table went pale. 3 months ago, you ordered a hit on Marco DeVito because he discovered your embezzlement. You made it look like Carbone family business. You let me believe my organization was under attack. Dante's voice was cold, flat. And in doing so, you put someone under my protection at risk. Someone who belongs to me. The room went silent. Every person there understood the implications. Dante, I can explain. Carlo started to stand. Sit. Down. 2 words. Absolute authority. Carlo sat. The witness to your crime is under my protection. Her sister. Dante's eyes found mine across the room. Is mine. Which means your betrayal didn't just affect my business. It affected what belongs to me personally. Understanding rippled through the room. Heads turned to look at me. I felt the weight of their attention, their assessment. I've tolerated mistakes, Dante continued. I've forgiven poor judgment. I've been lenient with those who've served me well. But there is one thing I will never tolerate. He leaned forward, hands on the table. Betrayal of what's mine. Marco appeared from the side door, 2 armed men with him. They moved toward Carlo. Wait, Dante, please. I'll make it right. I'll pay back everything. You betrayed me. Dante's voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire room. You endangered what belongs to me. There is no making that right. I watched as they dragged Carlo from the room, watched the door close behind them, heard, moments later, a single gunshot. The room remained silent. Dante straightened, adjusted his cuffs. Let this be a lesson. What is mine is protected. Always. Anyone who threatens that, whether enemy or ally, faces the same consequence. His eyes swept the room. Are we clear? 15 voices. Yes, sir. Good. Meeting adjourned. The senior associates filed out quickly, silently. Within minutes, the room was empty except for me and Dante. He crossed to me, his hands framing my face. Did I scare you? He asked quietly. Yes, I admitted. But not of you. For you. For me? You just executed one of your own captains. For me. For my sister. My hands came up to cover his. That's going to have consequences. Let it. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. They needed to understand. You're not just under my protection. You're mine. And I will destroy anyone who threatens you. Even your own people. Especially my own people.
He pulled me against his chest.
I love you, Natalia. More than this organization. More than my reputation. More than anything. If protecting you means burning everything else down, I'll do it without hesitation. My eyes stung with tears. This is insane. Yes. He kissed my forehead. But you love me anyway. I do. I looked up at him, this dangerous man who'd killed for me. I love you, Dante. Good. His smile was dark. Because you're stuck with me. Forever. 6 months later, Dante proposed. Not with a romantic dinner or elaborate setup, but in that same boardroom where everything had started. Where he'd singled me out. Where he'd claimed me in front of everyone. Everyone else leave. You stay, he said during a quarterly review. The senior associates filed out, knowing smiles on their faces. They all knew by now. Knew I was his. Knew he would kill for me. When we were alone, he crossed to me, pulled me to my feet. This is where it started, he said. 6 months ago. This room. I remember. I knew that day. Knew I was going to claim you. Make you mine. His hand slid into my hair. I've been waiting for the right moment to make it permanent. He pulled a ring box from his pocket. Opened it to reveal a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds. Marry me, he said. Not a request. A command. Make this official. Let me call you my wife instead of just mine. My breath caught. You're not even asking. You're telling me. I'm done asking permission for what I want. His eyes were intense on mine. I want you. Forever. Officially. With my ring on your finger, so everyone knows you're mine. You're so possessive. Always. He pulled the ring from the box. So, is that a yes? I looked at this man who'd saved my sister. Who destroyed his own captain for threatening me. Who'd claimed me in front of his entire organization and made me the center of his world. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then kissed me with a thoroughness that made my knees weak. Mine, he murmured against my lips. Yours, I agreed. Always yours. The entire room went silent. When Dante Moretti stood, you paid attention. He was tall, 6'3", of controlled power in an expensive suit. He moved with the kind of grace that came from absolute confidence in your ability to dominate any space you occupied. His hands, scarred despite his wealth, rested on the table as he looked at each man in the room. Then his eyes found mine. Everyone else leave. His voice was quiet, calm, and absolutely unmistakable in its authority. The words seemed to echo off the marble walls, filling the space. You stay. Time stopped. I watched 15 senior associates push back from the table. Watched them file toward the door, some of them glancing back at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Curiosity.
Pity.
Assessment. One of them, Marco, Dante So, met my eyes with something that looked almost like a warning. The door closed behind them with a soft click. We were alone. Dante didn't move immediately, just stood there at the head of the table, hands on the polished wood, watching me with dark eyes that saw everything I was trying to hide. My phone buzzed again. Answer it, he said quietly. I don't need to. Natalia. The way he said my first name made my breath catch. He never used my first name. Always Ms. Ricci. Always professional. Always maintaining that careful distance between CEO and employee. Answer the phone. Now. My hands shook as I pulled it from my pocket. Agent Chen's number on the screen. I'll call them back later. No. He moved around the table, slow and deliberate, a predator stalking prey. You'll answer it now. And then you'll tell me who's calling you 5 times during my meeting, and why you look like you're about to break.
He was too close now.
Close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and cedar-scented that made my head spin. Close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. It's personal, I managed. Everything about you is my business. He reached out, his hand closing over mine, over the phone still buzzing between us.
Who is
calling? His touch made electricity shoot up my arm. 8 months of watching him from across boardrooms, of feeling his attention, of imagining what those scarred hands would feel like on my skin. And now he was touching me, claiming my attention, demanding answers I couldn't give. A federal agent. I whispered. Something dangerous flashed across his face. Explain. The phone stopped ringing. Immediately started again. My sister, I said, the words tumbling out despite every instinct screaming to keep quiet. She witnessed a murder 3 months ago. They want her to testify. They're calling because something's wrong. Something's changed. Dante's jaw tightened. His hand was still over mine, warm and possessive and completely overwhelming. Answer it, he said, on speaker. Dante. Mr. Moretti, he corrected, but his eyes were hot. And that wasn't a request. I answered, press speaker, my hands shaking. Ms. Ricci. Agent Chen's voice filled the quiet boardroom. We have a situation. The defendant made bail this morning. We're moving your sister to a new safe house immediately, but I need to be clear, his family has resources. Significant resources. We can protect her until the trial, but after she testifies. After she testifies, she's a target for the rest of her life. I finished, my voice hollow. We can offer continued protection, but it won't be enough. I close my eyes. I understand. The trial is in 4 weeks. If you're considering alternative arrangements, now would be the time. Alternative arrangements. Like fleeing the country. Like becoming fugitives. Thank you, Agent Chen. I'll be in touch. I hung up. Stood there with Dante's hand still covering mine, his body too close, his attention absolute. How much? He asked quietly. What? How much do you need to get your sister out of the country? To relocate her somewhere safe? To make this problem disappear? His thumb brushed across my knuckles. How much, Natalia? My throat tightened. 150,000 euros. But I can't. I'm not asking you to. You're not asking. His other hand came up, fingers sliding along my jaw, tilting my face up to meet his eyes. I'm telling you what's going to happen. I'm going to wire that money to whatever account you need. I'm going to relocate your sister somewhere my rivals can't reach her. And I'm going to make sure the family that ordered that hit understands that your sister is under my protection. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do that? Because you're mine. He said it simply, like stating a fact. You've been mine since the day I hired you. I've been watching you for 8 months, waiting for the right moment, waiting for you to need me. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I work for you. I'm your employee. Wrong tense. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. You worked for me. As of right now, you're something else entirely. What am I? Mine. He leaned closer, his lips brushing my ear. Did you think I didn't notice? The way you watch me during meetings? The way your breath catches when I say your name? The way you've been wanting this just as much as I have. This is insane, I whispered. Yes. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. But you're going to say yes anyway. Because your sister needs help. Because you're out of options. And because you want this. He was right. God, he was right. What do you want in return? I asked. Everything. His hand slid from my jaw to my throat, not squeezing, just resting there, possessive and claiming. You move into my penthouse. You stop pretending we're just boss and employee. You attend events with me as mine. And everyone in this organization knows that you're under my protection. You're claiming me, I said. Publicly. I already did. His smile was dark. The moment I said you stay in front of 15 men. They know. Everyone knows now. You're mine, Natalia. The only question is whether you're going to accept it. I should have said no. Should have run. Should have been terrified of this man who was offering to solve my problems in exchange for owning me. But I was tired of being scared. Tired of being alone. Tired of pretending I didn't want exactly this. Okay, I whispered. Okay.
Yes.
The money. The protection. You. I met his eyes. All of it. The smile that crossed his face was pure satisfaction. Good. Because I'm done waiting. He kissed me then, right there in his boardroom, against the floor-to-ceiling windows where anyone looking up from the street could see. He kissed me like he'd been thinking about it for 8 months. Like I was something he'd finally stopped denying himself. And I kissed him back, my hands fisting in his expensive suit, my body pressing against his. 8 months of tension finally exploding between us. When he finally pulled back, I was breathless. Pack a bag, he said, his voice rough. My driver will pick you up at 7. You're staying at the penthouse tonight. Dante. Mr. Moretti. He corrected again, but his eyes were hot. At least until we're in private. Maintain appearances. Everyone in that boardroom knows something happened. Good. His hand slid possessively down my spine. Let them know. Let everyone know. You're under my protection now. That means something in this world.
He was right.
In the world of organized crime masquerading as legitimate business, being under a Don's protection meant you were untouchable. It meant anyone who threatened you answered to him. It also meant I belonged to him. What about my sister? I asked. I'm making calls this afternoon. By tonight, she'll be on a plane to Vancouver with a new identity and enough money to start over. He kissed my forehead, surprisingly gentle. She'll be safe, Natalia. I promise. And the family that ordered the hit will receive a message explaining that your sister is now under Moretti protection. They'll back off. His smile turned cold. Or they'll learn why backing off would have been wiser. I believed him. That was the terrifying part. I absolutely believed that Dante Moretti could make entire criminal organizations back down with nothing but a phone call.
Go, he said.
Finish your workday. Act normal. My driver will be at your apartment at 7. And then you're mine. Officially. Completely. His hand cupped my face. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just us. He walked me to the door, his hand at the small of my back. Opened it to reveal Marco standing in the hallway, clearly waiting. Marco's eyes flicked from Dante to me, taking in my flushed face and kiss-swollen lips. Understanding dawned in his expression. Sir, he said carefully. Ms. Ricci is under my personal protection, Dante said, his voice carrying that absolute authority. Spread the word. Anyone who bothers her answers to me. Marco nodded slowly. Understood. I walked out of that boardroom on shaking legs, feeling Dante's eyes on me the entire way. Feeling the weight of what had just happened. Everyone else leave.
You stay.
For words that had changed everything. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I returned to my office, tried to focus on work, failed completely. My phone kept buzzing, this time with messages from Agent Chin confirming that new arrangements were being made for Valentina. Arrangements that came with significant private funding from an anonymous donor. Dante worked fast. At 3 p.m., my office phone rang. Internal extension from the executive floor. Ms. Ricci. Dante's voice, formal and professional. I need the Singapore compliance reports in my office.
Now.
It was a lie. He didn't need any reports. But I stood, smoothed my skirt, and took the elevator to the executive floor. His office was directly connected to the boardroom through a door I'd never entered. Until now. I knocked. His voice. Enter. The office was pure Dante. Massive desk, leather furniture, windows overlooking the entire city. Art that belonged in museums. A bar in the corner with bottles that probably cost more than my car. And him, standing by the windows, hands in his pockets, watching the city below like he owned it. Because he did. Close the door, he said without turning around. I obeyed. Heard the lock click. Your sister is on a plane to Vancouver in 2 hours, he said. New identity, new passport, 20,000 euros in cash, and an apartment near the university. She'll be safe. My eyes stung. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He turned to face me. We need to discuss terms. Terms? Of our arrangement. He moved toward me, predatory and deliberate. You're moving into my penthouse. But there are rules. Rules. You attend all social events with me. You present yourself as mine. Publicly, unmistakably mine. You don't date anyone else. Don't flirt with anyone else. Don't give anyone the impression that you're available. So, I'm your what? Girlfriend? Mistress? You're mine. He said it simply. Label it however you want. But every person in this city will know you belong to me. And what do you give me in return? Protection. For you and your sister. Money. More than you'd make as a forensic accountant. Access to my world. He moved closer. And this. He kissed me again, and this time there was nothing gentle about it. This was possession. Claiming. The kiss of a man who decided I was his and was done pretending otherwise. When he finally pulled back, I was gasping. Pack enough for a week, he said. My driver will bring the rest of your things tomorrow. A week? Dante, I can't just. Yes, he interrupted. You can. Because you agreed.
Because your sister needs you to.
Because you want this. His hand slid into my hair. Stop fighting it, Natalia. You're mine now. Accept it. This is insane, my mind screamed. But my body was already surrendering. Already accepting what he was offering. Okay, I whispered.
Good.
He released me, went to his desk, pulled out a black credit card. This is yours. Use it for anything you need. Clothes, expenses, whatever you want. I can't accept. You can and you will. He pressed it into my hand. You're mine to take care of now. That includes making sure you have everything you need. The card was heavy in my palm. Unlimited spending. His name embossed on the front.
Go, he said.
7 p.m. Don't be late. I left his office on shaking legs, the credit card burning in my pocket, my lips still tingling from his kiss. What had I just agreed to? At 7 p.m. exactly, a black Mercedes pulled up in front of my apartment building. The driver, a man built like a tank in an expensive suit, opened the door without a word. I slid into the back seat with my overnight bag and tried to calm my racing heart. The drive took 15 minutes through Milan's evening traffic. We pulled up in front of a building in the city's most exclusive district, where apartments cost millions and privacy was absolute. The driver opened my door. Penthouse elevator. Code is 4739. I rode up alone, watching my reflection in the mirrored walls. I looked terrified. I looked like a woman about to jump off a cliff. The doors opened directly into his penthouse. And there he was. Dante Moretti, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, drink in hand. standing by those massive windows like a king surveying his kingdom. He turned when I entered. His eyes swept over me, possessive and satisfied. "You came," he said. "Did you think I wouldn't? I thought you might run." He set down his drink, crossed to me. "I'm glad you didn't." His hand came up, cupping my face, and for a moment we just stood there. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. "Are you afraid of me?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I admitted. "Good." He kissed me softly. "You should be. I'm not a good man, Natalia. I do terrible things. I hurt people. I destroy anyone who threatens what's mine. I know what you are. And you're here anyway." "I'm here anyway," I agreed. He smiled, and it transformed his face. Made him look younger, less dangerous. Almost human. "Come," he said. "I'll show you around." The penthouse was massive. 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a kitchen I could never afford to cook in, living spaces that belonged in magazines. Everything in shades of black, gray, and steel. "Master bedroom," he said, opening a door. The room was pure Dante. King-sized bed with black silk sheets. More windows. A bathroom that looked like a spa. "Your things go here," he said. "You'll sleep here." With him. The implication was clear. "Dante." "We're past pretending," he interrupted. "You're mine. That means you're in my bed. Every night." My pulse raced. "I barely know you. You've worked for me for 8 months. You know exactly who I am." His hand found my waist. "And you want this. Stop lying to yourself." He was right. I did want this. Had been wanting it for months while telling myself it was impossible. "What if this doesn't work?" I whispered. "It will." His forehead pressed against mine. "Because I don't fail at things I want. And I want you." He kissed me again, and this time I stopped fighting. Stopped questioning. Just surrendered to the heat between us. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were dark with promise.
"Dinner first," he said.
"Then I'm going to show you exactly what being mine means." Dinner was delivered by his private chef, because of course Dante Moretti didn't cook. We ate at his dining table overlooking the city, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. "Tell me about your sister," he said over wine that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Valentina. She's 16. Smart, talented, wants to be a doctor." I smiled thinking of her. She's the good one. I'm just the one who pays the bills. By working for me, legitimizing my money. Yes. "Does that bother you?" He watched me carefully. "What I do?" "Yes," I admitted. "But not enough to leave." "Why not?" "Because I needed the job. Because the money was too good. Because—" I met his eyes. "Because I was drawn to you from day one, and I couldn't make myself walk away." Satisfaction flashed across his face. "I knew." "Knew what?" "That you wanted me. I've been watching you for 8 months, Natalia. Watching you try not to watch me. Watching you react every time I said your name. Watching you imagine what this would be like." My cheeks heated. "You're very sure of yourself." "I'm sure of us." He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. This was inevitable. You know that. Maybe it was. Maybe from the moment I'd walked into his office for that interview 8 months ago, this had been written. We finished dinner, and then he was leading me to his bedroom. Not rushing, not pushing, just his hand at the small of my back as we walked through his penthouse. "I should shower," I said when we reached the doorway. "Go ahead." He nodded toward the bathroom. "Take your time." The bathroom was ridiculous. All marble and glass, a shower that could fit 6 people, a bathtub that looked like a small pool. I showered quickly, using his products and emerging smelling like him. When I came out wearing a towel, he was sitting on the edge of his bed, waiting. He'd changed into just sleep pants, and I could see the scars on his chest, his arms. Evidence of a life lived dangerously. "Come here," he said quietly. I crossed to him, and his hands settled on my waist, pulling me between his legs. "You're wearing a towel," he observed. I didn't pack pajamas.
"Good."
His hands slid up my sides, thumbs brushing the edge of the towel. "You won't need them." My breath caught. "Dante." Tell me you want this, he interrupted, his eyes intense on mine. Tell me you're sure. I'm terrified, I admitted. But yes, I want this. I want you. The smile that crossed his face was pure possession.
Good.
Because I'm done being patient. He pulled me down onto his bed, his mouth finding mine with an intensity that stole my breath. His hands were everywhere, in my hair, on my skin, claiming and possessing with a thoroughness that made it clear this had been building for 8 months. When the towel finally fell away, his eyes darkened. Perfect, he breathed. You're perfect, Natalia. And then he was kissing me again, touching me, showing me exactly what it meant to be his. When he finally entered me, his eyes locked on mine. It felt like everything clicking into place. Like this had been inevitable from the moment we met. Mine, he growled against my throat. Say it. Yours, I gasped. I'm yours. And I was. Completely. Irrevocably. His. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and Dante's arm around my waist. We were tangled together in his black silk sheets, his body warm against my back. You're awake, he murmured against my neck. How did you know? Your breathing changed. His hand slid up my ribcage possessively. I told you. I notice everything about you. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it, saw a message from Agent Chen. Your sister arrived safely in Vancouver. New identity established.
She's asking for you.
Relief flooded through me. She's safe. Valentina's safe. I told you she would be. Dante's lips brushed my shoulder. I take care of what's mine. Including me? Especially you. He turned me to face him. You're mine now, Natalia. In every way that matters. Do you understand what that means? That I belong to you? That I protect you? That anyone who threatens you answers to me? That you're no longer alone? His hand cupped my face. That I love you. My breath caught. You love me? Since the day I hired you. Maybe before that. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I saw you in that interview. Brilliant, fierce, trying so hard to hide how scared you were. And I knew. You were mine. Tears stung my eyes. This is insane. Yes. He kissed me softly. But you love me too. Don't you?
Did I?
I'd been working for him for 8 months. Watching him. Wanting him. Imagining exactly this. Yes, I whispered. I love you. The smile that crossed his face was pure joy. Good. Because I'm never letting you go. 2 weeks later, I attended my first event as Dante's. A charity gala at the Opera House, full of Milan's elite, old money families, business magnates, politicians who took bribes, and criminals who'd learned to wear tuxedos. I wore a dress Dante had chosen, emerald green silk that hugged every curve and cost more than 3 months of my old salary. Diamonds at my throat and ears that he'd casually mentioned were just something I had lying around. His hand was possessive at the small of my back as we entered. Every head turned. They're staring, I whispered. Let them. His hand tightened. They need to see you. Need to know you're mine. We moved through the crowd, and I felt the weight of their attention. The curiosity. The assessment. Dante Moretti had brought a date. Dante Moretti, who never brought dates, who never showed public affection, who kept his personal life locked away. Until me.
Dante.
A man approached, older, distinguished, dangerous eyes. I didn't expect to see you here with company. Natalia, this is Alessandro Carbone. Alessandro, Natalia Ricci. My accountant. And mine. The possessiveness in those last 2 words was unmistakable. Alessandro's eyes flicked to me, assessment in his gaze. A pleasure, Ms. Ricci. Mr. Carbone. I hear you've been doing excellent work for Moretti Holdings. Quite the talent for restructuring. Thank you. She's the best, Dante said flatly. Which is why she's mine. More people approached. More introductions. Each time, Dante made it clear. I was his. Under his protection. Off limits. By the end of the night, every person in Milan's underworld knew. Natalia Ricci belonged to Dante Moretti. We returned to the penthouse after midnight. I kicked off the heels that had been torturing me for hours, and Dante pulled me into his arms. "You did well tonight," he murmured. I just smiled and didn't faint. "You were perfect." He kissed me softly.
They all saw. They all know now.
"You're protected." "Because I'm yours." "Because you're mine," he agreed. 3 months passed. I moved the rest of my things into the penthouse. Started attending all his events. Learned to navigate the dangerous world of organized crime masquerading as legitimate business. Valentina called from Vancouver every week, her voice getting stronger, more confident. She'd started university classes, made friends, was building a life. She was safe. Because of Dante. I was safe. Because of Dante. Preston, my ex, had tried to contact me once. Sent a threatening email about exposing Dante's business practices. The email stopped after one phone call from Dante. The wedding was held at his family's estate outside Milan. Valentina flew in from Vancouver, healthy and whole and radiant. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For saving me." "Thank Dante," I said. "He's the one who—" "I am thanking him. But I'm thanking you too. For being brave enough to accept help. For letting someone take care of you for once." She pulled back, her eyes shining. "You deserve this, Natalia. You deserve to be loved like this." The ceremony was beautiful, traditional. Dante in a tuxedo that made my mouth go dry. Me in a white dress that cost more than my old car. When the priest asked if I took Dante to be my husband, I looked at this man who'd claimed me in a boardroom 6 months ago. Who'd refused to let me face my problems alone. Who destroyed anyone who threatened me. "I do," I said. "And do you, Dante, take Natalia to be your wife?" "I do." His eyes never left mine. "She's been mine for months. This just makes it official." Laughter rippled through the guests. Because everyone knew. Everyone had known since that day in the boardroom. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Dante kissed me like he'd been waiting his entire life for this moment. "Mine," he murmured against my lips. "Forever." "Yours," I agreed. "Forever." The reception was held in the estate's gardens. Music, dancing, champagne that probably cost more than most people made in a year. I danced with Dante under string lights, his hand possessive on my waist. "Happy?" he asked, deliriously. I looked up at him. 6 months ago, I walked into a boardroom terrified. "And you changed everything." "You changed everything," he corrected. "You made me want something beyond power. Beyond control. You made me want this. This.
You.
Forever. A life beyond the organization." His hand tightened on my waist. "I'd give it all up for you. The business, the money, the power. All of it. I'd never ask you to." "I know." He kissed me softly. "That's why I love you." Later that night, in his penthouse, our penthouse now, he pulled me into his arms. "Do you remember what I said that first day?" he asked. "In the boardroom? Everyone else leave. You stay." 4 words that changed everything. His hand slid into my hair. "I claimed you that day. Made you mine in front of everyone. Best decision you ever made?" I teased. "Only decision that mattered." He kissed me thoroughly. "You're stuck with me now, Mrs. Moretti. For the rest of our lives." Mrs. Moretti.
His wife. His.
"I can handle that," I said, kissing him back. Standing there in his arms, our home, our life, I thought about that terrified woman who'd walked into a boardroom 6 months ago with secrets she couldn't share and problems she couldn't solve. She'd been so alone, so scared, so convinced she had to handle everything herself. And then a man in an expensive suit had singled her out, had commanded her to stay, had refused to let her face her demons alone. This is insane, I'd thought that day. Now I thought, this is everything. Dante Moretti had claimed me in front of 15 witnesses, had marked me as his in a world where that meant protection, possession, power. And I'd never been happier in my life. "I love you," I whispered. "I know." His smile was smug. "I've known since the beginning. You just needed time to accept it. So arrogant. So right.
He kissed me again.
You're mine, Natalia Moretti. You have been since the moment I told you to stay. And you always will be. Promise. Promise. His forehead pressed against mine. Forever. And standing there in his arms, I believed him. Forever.